everyone, and welcome to the final session for the day, for day 2, and welcome to Navigating the Teacher Exodus, Challenges and Opportunities for Educational Leaders. We are excited to be wrapping up the session, and we have some exciting people that are here that are joining me today. And so let's get the party started. And what I would like for you to do is to, in the chat, go ahead and give me some emojis in terms of where you are in this process. So if you're a current teacher, give me that crying happy face, because we're not really sure, are we crying or are we happy? If you're a former teacher and you have switched careers, go ahead and give me the hand clap. And if you are not a teacher, give me a thumbs up. That means you are all set and we are on our way. All right. Love it, love it. All right, so what I am going to ask is that if you have a question, go ahead and put it not in the chat, but in the Q&A section so that we can post those at the end, all right? Well, my name is Dina Beavers, and I am in my early 50s because black don't crack, and my hair is high in a ponytail. I have on a multicolored shirt with jogging pants on the bottom. You can't see it, but that's okay. And I normally wear glasses, but I don't have my glasses on today. I'm an instructional designer for an insurance company. And so my next person that I'd like for them to introduce themselves will be Edwin.
Hello. My name is Edwin Sinius, instructional designer. I'm in my late 20s, wearing a mustard color sweater, I guess you call it mustard color sweater, and officially transitioned about a year and a half ago.
All right. Next, Kizzy.
Hi, my name is Kizzy McFall. I'm an instructional designer. I'm in my late 30s. I'm wearing a striped gray shirt, dark brown skin, and long black hair.
All right. Followed by Orlando and then Robin.
How's it going, everybody? Orlando Haynes. I am a talent acquisition leader. I'm wearing, which you can't tell, it's kind of pink here, but I'm in my early 50s, 51 to be exact. I agree with Dina, black don't crack. Hopefully it looks okay. But super excited to be here and share some information with everyone.
All right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Robin Rivers. I am in my very early 40s. I'm a learning content specialist. My hair is braided and pulled back. I have on a red top and red lips.
All right, and followed by Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Yulin. I'm an instructional designer and I taught special education for 10 years. I am in my early 40s. My hair is in a top bun and I am wearing a white shirt with horizontal black stripes and black glasses.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me for this panel. And let's just go ahead and get our rapid fire questions in. The first question is, do you miss summer or the breaks? Why or why not? We're going to start with Edwin, Kizzy, Robin, and then Stephanie.
Me personally, no, do not miss my summer breaks. Although I do love summer, I love hitting the beach. I do not miss it because I'm not exhausted at the end of the day. So I do not miss it.
Okay.
I do not miss mine either. I have a great work-life balance, so I don't miss it.
All right.
I don't miss it at all. You only needed a summer break because you were so exhausted during the year, and I'm not exhausted anymore.
Absolutely not. I love to travel, and now I can travel when kids are in school and I don't have to pay top dollar to go where I want to go.
Okay. All right. That question right there is usually a stumbling block for teachers. A lot of people think that they're going to miss summers. I have yet to talk with anyone, maybe one or two people that said that they have missed summers. All right. Our next question, which is important, was there a pay increase? And if so, what percentage was there an increase, or did it stay the same? I'll say for me, I think it was about a 19% pay increase on my first position out of education. Edwin?
For myself, I'll probably say it's about a 10% increase because the state I am did pay teachers fairly well. So I'll say 10%.
All right. Kizzy?
My increase was 48%.
Okay. All right. Because you're in Florida.
Yes.
Okay. Robin, who lives in the DC metro area?
So my pay increase looks a little different. I did receive a pay increase, but I have a company that gives you a maximum 32% bonus of your salary yearly. So I would say that I'm looking at probably about 20% more.
Okay. All right. And Stephanie?
Yes, about 10%.
Okay. Piggybacking on that question real quick, I want teachers to know that when you get that offer and it comes in March, April, whenever it comes, if it comes in September, I need for you to go ahead and take that offer. You are not waiting until summer until you decide to leave education if you have an offer. All right, so we're going to start again with Edwin. Describe any additional training that facilitated your transition.
For myself, I went and got my master's degree in instructional technology, and I took a couple of courses through LinkedIn that kind of helped me in my transition.
Okay, all right. Kizzy?
So for myself, I received a master's degree from Capella in instruction curriculum. Then I joined Idol Academy, which helped me build my portfolio. So that's the training that I got.
Did you get that degree before you started the transition or
Before.
while you were in
Yeah,
teaching?
Before.
Okay. All right. All right. Robin?
So I actually got my doctorate in instructional technology and distance education from Nova Southeastern University, where I learned tons of theory on instructional design. So I had all the theory, but I didn't have the products that I needed. So once I joined Idle Courses Academy, I was able to then get a chance to use a lot of the newer technology and get that portfolio up and going. And that's what really helped with my transition.
Okay. And again, you got became a doctor before you decided to transition, right?
Long before I decided to transition.
Okay. All right. And Stephanie?
I took a few classes to learn different authoring tools, and I also volunteered with the company to help create micro courses. And I'm kind of going backwards. I'm getting my master's in instructional design after I've started.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask just a couple of, I'm going to do it this way because it's not on the screen. Edwin, about how long did it take you to make the transition from the time that you decided I'm ready to leave education until you got your position?
I'll probably say about 2 months. I kind of decided in like November of 2021, and I made the successful transition in January. So it took a couple months, and that's all because my master's program, I finished that up. I networked and that kind of thing. So, interview process, all that took about 2.5 months for a full transition.
Okay, I'm going to say I think you are a special case because sometimes it takes 2 months just to interview for the interview process. So I don't want everybody to get excited out there. I want you to be excited, but
It's
I don't know.
possible.
It's possible. There you go. That's it. All right then, Kizzy, how long did it take you to upskill and reskill?
So when I made the decision to leave, it was December 2019, and it took 10 months for me to develop my portfolio. And then I remember in October 2021, I decided to start interviewing, and then I received my position in let me go back. In October 2020, I started interviewing, and I received my position in March 2021. So it took a little over a year.
Okay. Dr. Robin, about how many applications did you fill out before you got your position? I saved that one just for you.
Yes, I would say about 140. We were encouraged through Idle Courses Academy to actually keep a spreadsheet. So I had 140, and that was a lot of no's on that list.
Yes. And I'll say that I know people who Kizzy, didn't you have a number that was higher than that?
Like 350.
Okay. Now, it just depends on your approach on how you want to do applications. There's schools out there that say only apply this way, and some say only apply that way. But just know that you can have a lot of applications before it's your time. And then, Stephanie, how many interviews, give me a ratio between applications and interviews.
I think I did about 40 applications and then 2 interviews.
Okay. All right. Orlando, we're coming to you. I promise you we are. All right. So everyone, I'm going to have you really quick. Describe your role through the lens of a project. We'll start with Edwin.
Oh, through the lens of a project. I'll probably say and analyzing, creating, and evaluating. I'll see those 3 words.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Kizzy, how would you describe what you do? And you don't have to put it in like 3 or 4 words. You can kind of tell me a little bit about what it is you actually do.
Sure. So in our department, collaboration, teamwork is very crucial. So from the very beginning of our project, we come up with a vision, then we do our weekly meetings, to track progress, as well as we address any type of concerns and come up with solutions. Then for my focus on the learning experience. So I come up with engaging pieces such as scenarios, videos, images, graphs. I work with my team members, my multimedia team members, to to create those engaging pieces for those learners.
Okay, all right. Dr. Robin, walk me through a little bit about what it is that you do.
So I work in the cooperative space. So we are actually work with rural utilities. So it starts with our member needs. So we usually are focusing on whatever is important to our members. So that will come through an RVP, which are regional vice presidents. They're in the field, they're visiting, they're assigned to more than 900 co-ops, and they'll come to our training team, and it's really a training team of 3, and say, hey, we want to get this training to our members. And then I will then sit down with our RVPs, our regional vice presidents, they're our SMEs. We'll sit down and talk about that need. And then from there, I will create an outline as to what the course may need. Then I'll shoot that back to my SME. My SME will add to it. Then it comes back to me. It's a lot of back and forth in between there. And then I'll actually work on designing and developing the course based on what they have said and what I believe will work, throwing in the tidbits of my knowledge of education. Then we'll do the back and forth process. We'll meet a little bit over Teams, and then we'll finally get through the graphics of it, and we'll get any participant guides, instructional guides together. And that's just for in-person learning.
Okay. I heard a lot of transferable skills in what you said. I heard a lot of acronyms and new acronyms that we all know now that we didn't know before. You know, it may sound like a foreign language, but I promise you, once you get into whatever field that you're going to go into, you too can learn this new lingo as well. And so, Stephanie, walk me through a little bit about what it is that you do.
Sure. So my company contracts with universities to develop nursing and medical lab science programs. So as instructional designers, we work directly with the subject matter experts to analyze and develop and write curriculum and content for all of those courses.
Okay, all right. And so here's a good one. Recall an instance in which you utilize a transferable skill that we typically consider commonplace among teachers, yet it is perceived as innovative by our colleagues and supervisors. So for instance, I did a gallery walk one time, and the teachers in the audience, you know what a gallery walk is, and they were just really wowed and blown away by that. And had not seen anything like that. And so these are transferable skills and skills that we use every day. And that we can incorporate. So let me ask, Kizzy, do you have one that you've used?
So when I was a teacher, I created interactive PowerPoint decks. So right before I would start teaching the lesson, I would do like a movable GIF title that introduced the subject. So I ended up taking that idea into my content development, and they were actually impressed, when I started introducing the content with the movable GIF, and then all the topics had the movable image GIF, because we ended up using that for like 35 courses. So.
All right. Now this question is supposed to go to everyone, but is there anyone else that wants to chime in on something that they said they were blown away by this?
I could chime in really quick. So when I was teaching, I used to create these kind of like these bell ringers. I'm sure teachers know what bell ringers are, or, as you walk in the door, you do. So my bell ringers always be like something like extravagant, like kind of make you think, kind of test your brain a little bit. It'll be something silly like, oh, is a hot dog a sandwich or something like that? Something silly, something goofy. So I kind of like incorporated that into my instructional design field. They're kind of amazed. They're like, oh my God, people are so engaged. People are like, you're innovator. You're the most engaging trainer that we have. And I was like, oh wow, it's everyday teaching. So
right. Okay, so there it is. I hear that again. All right, Mr. Orlando, as teachers, we're not used to a lot of competition. A lot of times, thousands or hundreds of applications for one position. And so in the past 6 months, many major companies such as Meta and Google and Microsoft and others have laid off thousands of employees, while at the same time, thousands of teachers are trying to switch careers. Can you give practical action that we can take for our job search in the current career economy?
Yeah, it's a great question. So practical action, I would tell you the first thing you can take it from this esteemed panel is know what you want first. If you don't have clear direction, you're going to struggle on that transition. Second, I would say invest in yourself by coaching with either a resume writer or career coach that can extract all the transferable skills and build your business case. This way it'll lead you into a clear direction. But again, be absolutely clear as to what you want to speed up that process.
Okay. All right. Got another question for you. I know that you have a podcast, and in a minute, I'm going to ask you what the name of that podcast is. But you've had several episodes about branding and identifying one's unique selling proposition. Can you explain why branding is important and provide one example of what that looks like? What's the name of your podcast again?
Thank you. So the podcast is called Career Talks Podcast across all podcast platforms. The big thing about personal branding, right, that it is personal. What I like to give it an acronym called VCO, meaning visibility creates opportunity. So the more people see you, the more people will know you. And through that, LinkedIn is a phenomenal platform to position yourself in that space or become a thought leader in that space through personal branding. So the more people you get visible to see your profile, the higher chance and the more activity that you put out and produce on the platform, the more chances more people will see what you're about, your thought process, your methodology. And this way you can kind of build a greater network to help you make that transfer.
Okay. And I'll say that that's really important now. I know I came out in 2021, like it seems like it was forever ago, and the competition didn't feel as fierce. So what he just said is very important, especially on LinkedIn. And we'll talk a little bit more about LinkedIn in just a moment. All right, Edwin, what role did networking play in your career switch? And how did you build a professional network outside of education?
So I 100% agree with, Orlando in terms of networking, building that LinkedIn profile, getting more, eyes on you. For myself, it played a tremendous role. I know, Dina, me and you connected a couple of years ago on LinkedIn. It was just, it was everything. Like I learned so much just from, talking to you about, little stuff like, how to rewrite your resume, how to, keep your articulate profile going after your membership expired. That kind of little stuff, that little intricacies that you need to be successful in this field. So in terms of how I build it outside of teaching, I literally just kind of research instructional designers in, around me, New Jersey, or, even other states. And I kind of just followed them, connected with them, really just talked to them, picked their brain a little bit, and it worked wonders. So now when I interview, I was prepared with the lingo and I was, up to date and that kind of thing.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's very important with the lingo and when you start your interview process. As you talk to other people who are in the field that you are interested in, that lingo and that language will start to develop. It is very awkward at first and you feel inadequate at first, but as you keep going and you keep talking to more people, it becomes better. So if you're not on LinkedIn, make that a goal this week. And if you don't have a picture, that's okay. LinkedIn is really a tool and not necessarily like a social thing like for Facebook or anything like that. So one of the things I see teachers doing is just like, oh, I want to leave education. I can't wait to get out and teach, students are getting on my nerves and this and that. And my administrator, don't do any of that. That's my recommendation. Stick with your branding, what it is that you're interested in. So Orlando, in episode 83 of your podcast, you talked about how to secure a job through networking. Mm-hmm. Give us some steps to take to make networking a success.
So I would tell you, most job seekers don't utilize networking until it's needed, which is backwards. You should always keep a warm network. And one of the major keys to having a strong network is giving your whomever you're going to utilize or seek out for support the proper language to be your pitch person. Sometimes we'll just say, hey, I'm in teaching or I'm in HR and I'm looking to do X. Well, that doesn't tell me a lot. What have you done prior? Not just what's on the resume, but give me some quantitative information that I feel more comfortable and confident that I can sell you. So give them the proper language to sell you on what you've done, whether the projects, money you saved, money you brought into the organizations, things that you built, programs, implementations that you supported. Give them more detail than what's on the resume. This way they can go to bat for you when you're not in the room.
Okay, wonderful. All right, Ms. Stephanie, I have a question for you. I'm going to ask myself and you this question. Were there any resources or organizations that specifically helped you to navigate your career transition? I know for me, I joined my local ATD for the Learning and Development Community. That's the Association for Talent and Development. Usually you have like HR, and then under HR, you'll have talent acquisition and talent management. And under talent management, you'll usually have your learning and development department. And so ATD is a national organization, and they have local chapters. And my particular chapter had a mentor program, which was really the game changer for me. And then I also joined Idol Academy. When I was looking to transition, I needed someone to tell me, do this, do this, do this, do this in a very systematic way. And that's what Idol provided for me. There are lots of academies and everything that are out there. So when you're looking, maybe get some recommendations, talk to some people, and figure all of that out. So Stephanie, what kind of resources did you use?
So I didn't use the full Idol program, but she has different, I guess, side programs that you can join. And I use that to help a lot, especially when creating my portfolio, just because that is such a daunting task. ATD is a very good one. And also LinkedIn, I cannot, say how much LinkedIn has been important. And networking through there is how I landed my job. So use whatever resources you can possibly find. Most people are extremely kind and definitely willing to help you.
That is one thing that I have found. A lot of times, I would probably say, like, if I reached out to 100 people on LinkedIn to ask them questions or to even do chats with them, I would say I got at least 90% of them that responded, and I was able to meet with them. So Orlando, you're the next question. One of the challenges that we have is that we as teachers, we think there's not enough time in the day. We all understand the demands of teaching, bringing home work, and we understand teacher tired. That's a whole thing. But can you give us some practical steps on how to make a career change when busy?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think you just have to make the time for what you need. Everyone's heard that phrase, you won't make a change when you're tired of being tired. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what's going to drive you to make those changes. But I think you just have to carve out the time, and then you must have a plan. You got to have a clear plan and vision, as I stated earlier, for what your career wants to be. You can, before you make the plan, look at what other folks are doing. Not to put my panel on the, on the hot seat, but if they're open to receiving conversations, they've made the transition. Find out what they've done. What was those internal conversations that they had to make those key transitions? They shared a little bit, but those were big transitions, right? So I think first thing is know what you want, set the time out, and that goes deeper than having conversations with your family to say, hey, this is going to be a big change for me. I may be starting from ground zero, but I think in order for me to be happy in my career, my goals, and what I want to do, this is the path I need to take.
Okay, thank you. All right, Dr. Robin, what were the key, wait, let me stop for a second. If you have any questions, please be sure to put them on the question and answer side, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end. I'm trying to get to there, and we'll leave some time definitely at the end if we have any questions. So Dr. Robin, what were the key differences you experienced in terms of work culture and environment between education in schools and your current work environment where you're at now?
Dina, it's a couple of things, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. The biggest difference is I always worked with a certain demographic because that's what I just loved. I loved working in areas where there were low socioeconomic backgrounds, and so that was my student base. And now my audience is not just adults, but it's rural America. So I honestly am creating and designing learning for real life cowboys. One of the programs that I manage, CFPC, where I'm working with, these are CFOs, they're accountants, they're controllers of their cooperatives, and they really did go out in the morning, and they have a dairy farm, and they really are out there on their tractors, and they're in these rural spaces. So you have to learn how to talk to them and to address what's important to them, and that is very different. So I'm in a very different space. And I've learned to adapt to that space, which is very different for me. And I grew up in Alabama. I still grew up in the city, and I'm in the DC metro area, and now I'm working with rural America. So that has been probably the biggest work culture challenge that I've had to endure. But I love it. It's great.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak to, being in a school environment versus being in the corporate environment? Anyone else want to piggyback on that? Okay, no worries. All right. So beginning with the end in mind, you've got your new position, right? And we've switched our careers into learning and development. So Orlando, can you tell me more about the importance of tracking projects, performance, and value?
Yeah, so from that point, I actually created a career planner to do just that. It's called the Career Accelerator Planner. But what that does is when it comes time for performance reviews, merit increases, salary raises, career transitions, what you're doing is really building your business case of talents and things that you brought to corporate America. And that's the ammunition you need to help you make the transition or, get the raise and get what you need to where you need to get to, especially in corporate America. Performance reviews are huge. They can be once a year, twice a year. And your goal is to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Manager, this is all that I've done. This is where my expertise is. Here's a track record of everything that I performed and executed well. So when those conversations start to happen, you're better equipped to sell yourself, to get the most out of, that organization. Without that, we tend to forget everything that we've done and only remember a small portion because your manager is not going to remember. They're trying to remember what they did for their performance reviews. So when you bring that into one collective package, you can sell yourself better. That's your unique selling proposition.
Okay. I will say this, when I hear that, I think about we as teachers. So we're teachers, we can become a lead teacher. And then the next thing is assistant principal, kind of going on that track. But on this side of the fence in the corporate world, what I see a lot of people doing is I call it parlaying. They come into one position, they may stay for a year or two, and then they parlay to another position, and it has more advancement and more money. And I'm not saying that you want to keep parlaying into different jobs and different companies, but I will say that is an aspect of this. And so as teachers, we may have thought, okay, I'm going to be a teacher forever. I'm going to teach at this school, or I'm going to teach until I'm retired. The corporate mindset is just a little bit different. And that's what I hear, is being able to track that so that you can have those advantages when you're having those conversations with your supervisors to continue to parlay. Okay, so my next question is for Kizzy. What kinds of pressures or challenges do you face now? And how are they different from the ones that you encountered when you were a teacher?
So the current pressure that I'm facing is getting things done or projects done within 3 to 6 month time. That's actually enough time for me to, design learning experiences for the adult learners. When I was a teacher, I had to create lesson plans, 2 weeks worth of lesson plans in 1 week. That includes PowerPoint slide decks, that includes assessment questions, tests, everything. So with that being said, I always felt rushed. But even though I still have pressure now, my workload is kind of spread out, so it's kind of manageable.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to any kind of pressure or how things are a little different in terms of the stress level from education versus their current position?
I'll chime in a little bit. It's kind of with Kizzy. So I taught English for secondary English for 18 years, and there were, many times teachers always like to have multiple preps, and so you're trying to do multiple preps, and if you're on block scheduling, you have different classes every other day, so you're literally creating a new course every other day. And with my role now, that pressure is gone. I kind of get to set my own schedule as to this is when I want this deadline to be done. I have time to get things done. Things they don't need to be turned over as fast as we need to have them turned over for our students. And so for me, that's one of the biggest changes. When I first started, I was like, oh, I'm done with this already, because we're just used to working so much faster and having to be under so much pressure. And now I kind of have time to take. So I really enjoy that aspect of it.
Okay. All right. I don't want to leave the impression that you don't have any stress or any worries or anything like that. But I'll say, and for myself and even those that I speak with, it's just different. It's a different type of pressure. It's there, maybe because we can just put it down at a certain point, but it's just not as much. So I don't want to leave the impression that it's not there. All right, Stephanie, can you share any insights or advice on how to effectively communicate the value of your teaching experience to employers?
I think as teachers, especially when we get to a point where we're feeling anxious or we're starting to feel a little desperate to try to get out, I think we get so overwhelmed with that interview process that we forget that we are interviewing the company as well. And I think it's really important to remember that when we do finally start getting those interviews, and it helps us to remember our worth. As teachers, we tend to forget how much we do and how much we've accomplished. So I think when we're trying to relay that in interviews, it's important to try to remember some of those specific things that you've done. Just about all of us have worked in a team. We're all leaders. Some of us, have admin positions unofficially. So I think it's important to write those things down and to be able to tell interviewers exactly what we've done. You may have to reframe it just a little bit to make it, pertain to what that particular company is looking for. But as teachers, we are multitaskers. We can do just about anything. And it's important to not be afraid to let interviewers know that we are more than capable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to just pause just for a hot second here, and you can put your questions in the question and answer section, because I want to share a little bit here. So there's something that happens. So just like Brandy and Monica and Gladys Knight versus Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle, we have transferable skills versus upskilling and reskilling and demonstration. And that's something that is very important. We hear about transferable skills all the time, and it's become like almost a little cliche saying. So for all the teachers that are here, I need for you to really understand that you're going to have to upskill and you're going to have to reskill, and you're going to have to find ways to demonstrate that you have the skills to do the position that you're wanting to do. So that may mean changing your resume. That means keeping track of that data, just like Orlando talked about. If you're going back to school this year, keep track of all of those numbers, keep track of all of that data. Any professional development opportunities that come up, go ahead and volunteer for those. That's something that you definitely want to do for this upcoming school year. And so Orlando, can you give us any insight on how to create a career-changing resume?
Yeah, so what's changing now in that space when it comes to effective or career changing resume, right, is that you want it to be written into the future. Not so much of what you've accomplished now, because that then is the past, but what you can do and what you can bring to the organization you're targeting. So that's why I mentioned earlier is getting with a resume writer who can actually bring all that to the table and craft the verbiage that'll speak to the future and the skill sets that you're bringing to that organization, so they know that it's relevant. Because I think it was Dr. Robin who said that the level of skills, right, all the transferable skills that you bring, as well as Kizzy mentioned it, are still relevant and so needed in corporate America. I cannot tell. I've been in corporate America 25 years. Those skills that teachers possess are heavily needed in the corporate space. So resume is now transitioning to speak to the future skills of what you want and what you can bring to the table.
Okay. All right. I'm not at the end yet, but I'm very close. So I want to just breathe and pause for a minute and give my panel an opportunity to, if you have anything else that you would like to input and provide to our audience, is there anything else that you would want to say? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm just breathing and pausing just for a moment.
I'll just share one quick thing. Take action. Right. And there's a book out there that's called Action Has No Season, meaning any time is the perfect time to start. Don't rest on your laurels. Just take immediate, massive action and get started.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So I'm going to share my screen just one more time here. I do want to slow down just for a moment because we're in the learning and development space. And if you're a teacher out there, I don't want you to just to rush into instructional design or something like that. I want you to stop and pause if you have the opportunity and just think about what it is that you want to do. I know that this particular video, had I seen it early, I'm not gonna say I don't enjoy instructional design, because I do. I might have gone in a different direction. But I also recognize that some of us we were just tired and you're ready to go. And so if you're in that position where you can pause for a moment, then just getting some insight on what it is that you really want to do. Another thing that I want to admonish to teachers, or just recognize it for the teachers that are in this space, is that you may be experiencing moral injury. And it's a term that I had not heard of before. And basically, we are kind of sometimes put in positions where we're going against our morals. And not necessarily like anything that's like unethical or illegal or anything like that, but kind of like when we have to buy materials for our students, it's kind of like, well, hey, can the department buy for our students? You know, all the things that we see that happen that is causing this burnout may actually be what's called moral injury. And so the last thing that I'll say is, before we go to our questions, is I want you to join LinkedIn. I want you to join Black in L&D on all platforms. Where are we? We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we've got a website, we're on LinkedIn. Look into your local ATD. They may have a mentorship program. They do have monthly meetings, and that's an opportunity for you to network with others who are in the learning and development space. And then set up 3 informational interviews. Basically, you're going to get on LinkedIn, you're going to find somebody who is in the space that you want to be in, and you're going to send them a message. This may mean that you may need to pay for the LinkedIn service. That's worth it, I promise you. And the last thing that I'll say is that on Monday, you'll get a survey, and there's going to be 2 $50 prizes. And so I want you to fill out that survey so that you can get in on the prizes there. So I blew through it. There's a term in corporate America that we didn't use. I may give you some time back, but let's go ahead and see if there are any questions that if they could be posted. Why are former teachers only transitioning into instructional design? There are many areas in talent and development. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to start off with this. When I decided I wanted to leave education, I literally typed into the computer, what else can a teacher do? And it was the first thing that popped up. The reason why is because as teachers, some of us, and I've talked with a lot of teachers because I'm writing a book, I'm interviewing 100 former teachers, and we all kind of say the same thing, like we've always wanted to be a teacher and we didn't know what else we could do. And so I think that when you type that in, or when you start to talk to people, boom, it leads you straight to instructional design. Is there anyone else that would like to answer that question?
Not coming from the teacher's background, but I think the fact that teachers have the ability to reframe curriculums. And so when it comes to instructional designing, you're building a framework. So that's a key skill set that transitions very, very well into that role. If any one of the panelists would agree with that.
Okay. We're quiet. It's quiet. Somebody speaking?
Well, just Robin. I can agree with what Orlando said. A lot of our skills are transferable and work so well and so smoothly into instructional design. I actually did quite a bit of the e-learning parts of it, and I found out that I didn't care as much for e-learning as much as I thought that I would. I had it on my portfolio and I was okay with it. So when I got into this position, I actually shifted to the other side of it, where I do more project management. So just because you get into one area of L&D doesn't mean that's exactly where you're going to stay. So it wasn't until I got into my role that I was able to see, okay, I really don't like doing the articulate or doing storyline as much, but I really love being able to create curriculum and create lessons and activities. But for me, fortunately, I don't have to deliver any of this teaching anymore. I'm now in the background making sure that it gets delivered and it's assessed properly. So I do agree that there are other areas, but get into it and then see where your spirit leads you.
Absolutely. And Dr. Robin, how much traveling have you done with your new position?
I just got back from Seattle yesterday. I came back with a cold. So oh my goodness, I travel. Oh goodness, Dina, I start in April and I'm going to travel about well, I can't even see every other month. Let's see. I came back from Seattle. Next month, I'm in Portland. August, I'm back in Madison, Wisconsin. I get a little bit of a break. October, I have to go somewhere. I have to be November. I'm traveling. So I wasn't actually brought on to do all of this traveling. But again, your role may change once you get into your position. And they were like, oh, Robin, you're really good at this. So can we send you places to meet our members? So no, I was not brought on to travel this much, but I absolutely love it.
I know you do. And everyone here I met through networking in some form or fashion. And I am an introvert to the nth degree. And what LinkedIn allowed me to do was to kind of branch out a little bit, behind the scene, kind of like our students did during COVID, cameras off. And so, but I'm so grateful that everyone here has joined me for this panel. Does anyone have anything that they would like to, any parting words before we give everybody their time back? Y'all are not this quiet when I'm talking to y'all on the back end.
Oh, only thing I wanted to say is do not be afraid of no. Do not be afraid of no. I remember many times working with Kizzy and with Dina, and we would be in our little powwow sessions, and on a Saturday night, we were not out partying. We were online creating assets for our portfolio and lifting each other back up after we were told no after the third round of interviews. Do not be afraid of no.
No,
so that's my biggest advice.
That's so true. Orlando, did you have anything that you wanted to say, parting words, or tell me more about your book and your podcast again?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share on this platform. Dina, thank you so much for reaching out and joining the podcast. But folks, I do a weekly podcast every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I have different guests and experts that give you career tips. And they're all about actionable advice that you can implement today in this current career economy to transition. So whether you're in career transitions, trying to get promoted, etc., I've touched on a ton of different topics within my network. So feel free to subscribe to the podcast and just go through a list. I'm guaranteed you'll find something that will support you in different careers that you can consider outside of instructional design too, because teachers possess too much talent. So you have a breadth of opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone, I'm going to give you your time back. Thank you so much for joining us today. This wraps up the whole 2-day seminar. And again, thank you so much for attending. Don't forget the survey on Monday.